Would you forgive your mother if you found out she had lied to you your entire life, especially about your father, Emily? Thought she knew who she was. A rising young pianist with a hardworking single mom and a simple life in Boston. But everything shattered the moment she overheard a name, a voice, a truth that had been hidden for 15 years. Her father wasn't dead. He was alive. And worse, he was standing just a few feet away looking at her like she was a ghost from his past. At that moment, her world cracked open. This isn't just a story about love lost and found. It's about the devastating power of silence, the weight of secrets, and a daughter's right to know the truth. What happens when a long-lost father returns, a mother's lie unravels, and a teenage girl must decide whether to shut them out or let them in? Stay with me, because what Emily does next will shake every emotion you have, and just when you think you know where this story's going, it will surprise you. 2 black coffees and 1 toast with jam, the voice said low, deep and smooth like it hadn't aged a day. Rachel Evans froze mid-step. That voice. 15 years had passed, and yet her body reacted before her mind could catch up. Her hands trembled, barely perceptible, as she wrote the order down on her notepad. She kept her head low, trying to act normal, though her heart thudded like a war drum in her chest. "I'll bring it right over," she replied, her voice betraying nothing. She didn't need to look at him. She already knew. Michael Grant was sitting in her cafe, in her life, again. The small coffee shop on the corner of Chestnut and Beacon in downtown Boston was nothing glamorous. Exposed brick walls, scratched wooden tables, and a temperamental espresso machine that hissed like an old man with a grudge. But this was her sanctuary, her fortress, the only place she had felt safe in years. She had poured 3 years into it, morning to night, 7 days a week, building something real, not just for herself, but for her daughter. And now he was here, sitting at table 4, flipping through a newspaper like it was just another rainy Tuesday afternoon. Rachel walked stiffly to the espresso machine, her back rigid. She didn't dare glance at him, but through the chrome reflection, she saw a flash of his face. He looked the same, maybe more refined, a few streaks of silver at his temples. Still dressed in that effortless upper-class way, gray wool coat, a cashmere scarf, leather gloves folded neatly beside his newspaper. But it was his hands that made her breath hitch. She remembered those hands. Every line, every touch. Grinding the coffee gave her just enough distraction to gather herself. She fought the whirlwind inside her, pretending this was just another customer, just another order. But the scent of his cologne, sandalwood, and something darker wrapped around her like a ghost. She placed the 2 coffees and the toast onto a tray, threw in 2 sugar packets, and walked toward his table. Her steps were measured, controlled. She would not give him the satisfaction of seeing her break. "Here you go," she said coolly, setting down the tray. But as she leaned in to place the second cup, her elbow brushed his shoulder just a second, a whisper of contact. Yet it was enough to set fire through her skin. And then, he looked up. Their eyes met. Emerald green, exactly like she remembered. Only now they were layered with something else, something deeper. Recognition, shock, and behind it all, regret. Rachel's breath caught. Her vision tunneled. It was as if the past had materialized and wrapped its hands around her throat. "I'm sorry," she murmured, straightening so quickly she nearly knocked the tray. He said nothing. He just stared. She turned back to the counter, pretending to wipe the espresso machine, pretending not to feel his eyes burning into her spine. Minutes passed like hours. He sipped his coffee slowly, almost deliberately, like he wanted to stretch every second. Rachel watched him in the reflection, how he stirred sugar, how he barely turned a page in his paper. She hated how attuned she still was to his movements. When he finally stood and walked to the register, she swallowed the rising panic in her throat. $3.50, she said, hand outstretched. He gave her a 5. Their fingers touched again, this time slower, deliberate. Her skin tingled. "Keep the change," he murmured, not breaking eye contact. "That's not necessary, I insist." And then he paused. Just before turning to leave, he said her name. Quiet, like a sigh. Rachel. Her knees nearly gave out. She stood frozen as he walked out into the rain, but not before casting her one last glance through the foggy glass. The silence returned, but something fundamental had shifted. She couldn't breathe. That night, as her daughter Emily sat at the kitchen table, headphones and scribbling notes for her piano audition, Rachel stood by the window, staring out at the city lights in the curtain of rain. A memory snuck up on her, sharp and raw. Summer 2009. The scent of chlorine and roses, the sound of laughter and clinking glasses on the terrace. She had been wearing the too-tight maid's uniform his mother had chosen. He had pulled her into the laundry room, his hands trembling. "We can't," she whispered. "I don't care," Michael breathed, pinning her gently against fresh towels. "After I finish school, we'll leave. I swear it." "I'll wait for you," she had whispered foolishly, believing it was forever. South Station, the train to San Francisco. She waited 4 hours. Watched families reunite, strangers depart, time move on without her. He never came. She walked away from the station with a suitcase full of clothes and a heart full of lies. Back in the present, Rachel's hand brushed against the espresso machine and stopped. There, tucked just beneath the metal edge, a folded paper, damp at the corners, her name written in ink that had started to smudge. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded it. It was the letter, his letter. "Rachel, my father found out. He's threatened everything. I'm being sent away, but I swear to you I'll find a way back." She couldn't finish reading. The page slipped from her fingers. Her whole world tilted sideways. She had spent 15 years hating a man who had tried to reach her, who had been stopped. Had everything she believed been a lie? Then a knock. Soft, barely audible. Her breath stopped. She turned slowly. Michael stood in the rain again, soaked to the bone, his hair clinging to his forehead, his eyes desperate. "I had to see you," he said. "We have nothing to talk about. Please." She hesitated. She knew the danger, the fire, the pain that came with letting him back in, but her hand moved to the door, unlocked it, opened it, and in that moment everything began again. "Forgive me for pausing here, but I need to know, do you think Rachel should give Michael a chance to explain even after all these years? And what do you think Emily will do when she finds out who her father really is?" If you're feeling this story like I am, please tap that heart and like this video. Your support means more than you know. The next morning, Rachel pretended everything was fine. She brewed coffee like usual, cleaned the cafe like usual, even greeted her customers with the same tired but polite smile. But something had fractured inside her. That letter, that man, that moment. She had tossed and turned all night, the words in Michael's letter playing on loop in her head. He hadn't abandoned her. He had tried. And if that was true, what else had been buried all these years? She glanced at the photo taped behind the register. Emily, age 6, smiling with 2 missing front teeth. Rachel had told her daughter for years that her father had died young, that there was no one else, that it was just the two of them. But now, there was him. The door burst open. Cold wind swept in. Emily stepped in with her cheeks pink from the November air, her backpack slung over one shoulder, and sheet music in hand. "Mom," she said, breathless. "You're not going to believe this." Rachel forced a smile. "What happened? I got selected for the New England Youth Piano Showcase. I mean me. They only picked 10 students from the entire region. The finals next month at the Academy downtown." Rachel's heart swelled with pride and a gnawing sense of dread all at once. "That's incredible, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you." Emily plopped onto a stool, flipping open her folder. "I'm thinking of composing a new piece. Something different. I wanted to say something about me. About truth, I guess. About what I don't know yet, but feel anyway." Rachel's fingers tightened around the rag she was holding. Truth. Such a simple word. But it held the weight of everything she had buried for 15 years. Later that day, Emily was at the Academy for a workshop, practicing on a grand piano in one of the side studios. The hall was nearly empty, echoing only with the soft tapping of keys. She was humming along as she played an unfamiliar tune that had come to her one night in a dream. It always made her feel strangely comforted, though she had no idea where it came from. A voice broke the silence. "That's beautiful." Emily turned abruptly. A man stood at the doorway, tall, well-dressed, late 40s maybe. His eyes were kind but filled with something she couldn't name, something like recognition. "Thank you," she said cautiously. "I'm David Grant," he said, stepping in. I'm one of the event's sponsors. You must be Emily Evans. She nodded slowly. Are you one of the judges? Not officially. I try to support young artists. And that melody you just played, did you write that? Emily tilted her head. Yeah, sort of. I've been working on it for months. It came to me. I don't know how to explain it. Like I remembered it before I ever wrote it down. David's face went pale. What's wrong? She asked, eyebrows furrowed. He walked slowly to the piano and gently pressed a few keys, the exact opening of her melody. Emily froze. How do you know that? Because someone played it for me once, a long time ago, in the rain, when I was standing on a bridge ready to give up everything. Emily blinked. What bridge? He swallowed. Charles River. I never got her name, just that she was pregnant and kind and lost. She sang that tune to calm her baby and somehow me. Suddenly Emily couldn't breathe. Something inside her shifted, clicked. What was her name? She asked. David looked her dead in the eyes. She never told me. But now, I think I know. Emily, what's your mother's full name? Rachel Evans, she said, her voice small. David didn't respond. He just pulled out his phone and stepped into the hallway. Michael, he whispered urgently. You need to come here. Now. It's her. She's the one. Back at the cafe, Rachel stirred soup on the stove while the rain began again outside. She had almost allowed herself a moment of peace when the door knocked. Not gently this time. She opened it. Michael stood there again, wet, serious eyes wide with something between panic and hope. She's playing the melody, Rachel, he said. The one you used to hum. David heard it. Rachel's knees buckled slightly. She remembered it. She never learned it, he said softly. She felt it. It's in her. Michael stepped inside, shaking off his coat. I want to know her. I need to know her. Please. Rachel hesitated, her mind screaming, her heart confused. She's at the academy, she finally said. I'm not here to force anything, Michael said, lowering his voice. I know I wasn't there. But if I could, if she lets me, I'll be the father I should have been. She thinks you're dead, Rachel whispered. I told her that because I didn't know how else to explain the silence. Michael's face crumbled. I want to make it right. Somehow. Just then the phone rang. It was David. Rachel, he said urgently, she knows. Rachel went cold. What, she overheard us? She knows who Michael is. She ran. Rachel dropped the phone. She turned toward Michael, her face stricken. She found out. The worst way. Without another word, both of them rushed into the rain, and somewhere out there, a girl with music in her veins and too many questions in her chest was running from the truth she never asked for. Forgive me for stopping here, but I have to ask. What would you do if your whole life turned out to be a well-meaning lie? Do you think Emily will ever forgive her mother or accept Michael as her father? If this story moves something in you, please show some love with a like and a heart. It keeps the story alive. Right now the rain had stopped, but the world was far from calm. Emily sat alone in the practice room at the New England Music Academy, her fingers frozen above the piano keys. Her backpack was at her feet, but her thoughts were scattered far beyond the room. My father is alive. He didn't know I existed. My mother lied to me. Each truth came with its own sharp edge. There was a soft knock on the studio door. She didn't turn. I know you're angry, came Rachel's voice. I would be too. Emily said nothing. Her jaw was clenched, her eyes glassy. I never meant to hurt you, Rachel continued, stepping inside. I didn't know how to tell you. And when the moment passed, it just kept getting harder. Harder to admit you lied, Emily's voice cracked like dry wood. Rachel flinched. Yes, and harder to risk losing you. There was silence. Then Rachel added, when I found out I was pregnant, I waited at the train station for 4 hours. I thought he'd left me. I thought I had no one. And when you came into the world, I promised myself you'd never feel that kind of pain. Emily turned. But I did, just in a different way. Rachel nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Behind her, a shadow filled the doorway. Michael. He looked like he hadn't slept in days, his eyes hollow with guilt. Emily, he said carefully, You don't have to forgive me. But if you'll let me, I'd like to earn the right to be in your life." She studied him for a long moment. Her mother, her father, the two people who had shaped her world, one by presence, the other by absence. "I don't know if I can forgive either of you," she whispered. "Not yet." Rachel nodded. "We'll wait." Michael took a step forward. "But would you come to the showcase tomorrow? Play the song you've been working on? Let your voice be heard. No matter what happens between us, you deserve that moment." Emily looked down at the keys and slowly nodded. "I'll play." The next evening, the Academy auditorium was packed. Judges, students, families, it was a full house. Rachel sat in the front row, gripping the edge of her seat. Michael was just a few seats away, sitting like a man bracing for impact. The stage lights dimmed. Emily walked out in a simple black dress, her hair tied back, her chin high. She sat at the piano, took a deep breath, then spoke into the mic. "This piece is called The Truth That Hurts. It's about secrets and what happens when they unravel. It's about pain, and maybe healing too." She turned to the keys and played. The melody began soft like a lullaby from another life. Then it built, climbing into something raw and emotional. It was the tune Michael had once heard from Rachel's lips on a summer night. The same song she hummed when pregnant. The same music Emily had dreamed of before knowing anything at all. By the end, the entire room was silent. No one clapped at first. They were simply stunned. Then applause thundered. People stood, and Emily smiled. She looked at her mother, then at Michael, and with hesitant steps, she walked off the stage toward them. Michael rose to meet her, unsure. She stopped in front of him, studying him up close. Then quietly she asked, "Do you think you can teach me to ride a bike?" Michael blinked. What I never learned?" She shrugged. "Mom was too scared I'd fall." Michael laughed through the tears rising in his throat. "Yeah, I can teach you." She reached for his hand. Rachel stood beside them, shaking. Emily took her mother's hand too, and for the first time the three stood together, not perfect, not healed, but trying. Months passed. Emily won the scholarship to study in Paris. Michael and Rachel moved to Aspen Ridge, Colorado, where they opened a cozy cafe called Wildflower Cafe, named after Emily's favorite song. They didn't pretend everything was easy. There were days of silence, days of old pain, but also days of laughter, of music in the afternoons and slow dancing in the evenings, of Emily calling him Dad without hesitation. One night on the terrace under the stars, Rachel leaned into Michael's shoulder. "You know what Emily told me today," she whispered. "She's writing a memoir. She wants to call it Wildflowers After the Storm." Michael smiled. "That sounds about right." Rachel nodded. "Because that's what we are, aren't we, bent, but never broken?" He kissed her gently, rooted too deep to fall, and in the quiet that followed, the world felt full again. "Forgive me for pausing this story here, but I need to ask you something important. Do you believe some truths are worth waiting a lifetime for? And if you were in Emily's shoes, would you have forgiven them? Let me know in the comments. Type number 3. If you felt this ending deeply, number 1. If it didn't move you, and number 2, if it felt just okay. Tell me what country you're watching from. I'd love to know where this story has reached. And if this touched your heart, please tap that heart and share this video. Your support keeps stories like this alive.